Hey guys, it's that time of month again, and first off, welcome to my channel, Reading with Mo, and we're going to be talking about some cool book releases that are going to be coming out in the month of June. I did want to preface this video with all the stuff that's going on right now. I know with publishers, a lot of the dates are being kind of pushed back, so some of these books that I'm talking about, their dates may end up getting pushed back. At this point, I don't know, but this is like, for as far as I know, this is the most up-to-date information I have, but things are changing daily, so if there's a specific book you're interested in, I would just, maybe follow that publisher or author on social media so you can be notified if there's any changes in publication date. But with that being said, I'm excited to share these books with you guys, and hopefully they all come out. They'll come out eventually, even if it ends up not being in June. So the first one I wanted to share is a mystery thriller. I know I have seen this everywhere on Instagram and on other booktube videos, and it's The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I think it was one of the book of the month picks for last month, and this one is one of those like closed circle mysteries. It takes place on an island. I think that someone is getting married and it turns kind of dark and deadly is how it's described, and I don't know if there's like murder or something is going on, but it's supposed to be like really atmospheric and similar to Agatha Christie. And this author also wrote The Hunting Party. I haven't read that one either, but this was one just sounded like really interesting to me, and I know there's a ton of people that are really excited to get to this book. Next we have The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This one is really interesting. It's had a lot of buzz like in magazines and like Oprah magazine, Harper's Bazaar, stuff like that. It's following the story of two sisters. They're identical, but they end up each living very separate lives. So they're born in a small southern black community and they run away when they're 16. We're following them years later. One of them is living with her black daughter in that same town that they ended up escaping from, and the other one is secretly passing for white and her husband doesn't know anything about it. And so the question this book is asking is, what will happen to the next generation when their own daughter's storylines intersect? I think that just sounds so interesting to read about, and oof, this book sounds so good. Next, we have Agnes at the End of the World by Kelly McWilliams. This one is a fantasy young adult book. One of the things that made me interested in this one is it's described as The Handmaid's Tale meets Wilder Girls, which are both books that I did enjoy, so I'm interested to see what this one does. So we're following Agnes, and she lives at this place called Red Creek, which is actually a cult, and it is controlled by this man. He's a madman. He calls himself a prophet, and she ends up meeting this other guy, Danny, who is an outsider boy, and she starts to question everything that she's known. Her younger brother is going to die unless she's able to get or barter for the insulin that he needs every month. So she's having to debate if she's going to run away or not, leave everyone behind. She has other family there as well, I believe, at least another sister. And so this one sounds really interesting. I'm not sure where the fantasy parts come into play, but maybe that has something to do with if they escape or something. I don't know, I'm just guessing here. Next is Outside the Lines by Amira Patel. This one takes place in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we're following, I believe, multiple different storylines, but they're all somehow interrelated. One is Kathleen. She's kidnapped and she's addicted to drugs, and her family is very distracted and middle class, and they don't even notice her absence. And I believe we're also following the perspective of the guy who is selling her the drugs, and we're following a domestic worker who was painting Kathleen's house until Kathleen's father accused her of stealing. So it sounds like a family drama. It's described as a family drama scattered across racial, religious, and class divisions. Next, we have People of the City by Cyprian Ekwensi. This one is described as a coming-of-age tale. It's set in a big Nigerian city, and we're following a young man who is trying to make his way as a journalist and a band leader in that big city. This book is a republish of a book that has already been published in the past. I believe it was in the 50s this came out. I really want to read more classic and older works written by Black authors, so this seems like a good place to start, especially ones that might not be as well known. Next we have Pizza Girl by Jean Kyung Frazier. I don't think I said that right, but we're following in this one, it's another coming of age story. This time we're following a pregnant pizza delivery girl, and she ends up becoming obsessed with one of her customers. She's 18, she lives in the suburbs in LA, and she comes from a very dysfunctional family. She ends up becoming obsessed with this stay-at-home mom who lives in the neighborhood and who comes to depend on weekly deliveries of the food for her son. This sounds like it could be a little bit funny, a little bit sad, because I think the main character is also dealing with grief for her father who's passed away. And I really love the cover on this one. I think it looks really cool. Then we have another mystery thriller. This one is called Safe by S.K. Barnett. The description on this one says, Jenny Crystal was 6 years old when she was snatched off the sidewalk from her suburban neighborhood. 12 years later, she miraculously returns home after escaping her kidnappers. But as her parents and older brother welcome her back, the questions begin to mount. Where has she been all these years, and why is she back now, and is home really the safest place for her to be, or is it safe for any of them to be there? Then we have another mystery thriller. This one is The Girls' Weekend by Jody Gurman. This one's described as supposedly for fans of Ruth Ware and Lucy Foley. And this one is also another locked room mystery. It's following 5 college friends, and they're reuniting after having been away for a few years, I guess. And they end up being ripped apart again when their host's disappearance unearths dark secrets and old grudges. So their reunion ends up becoming a crime scene. Then we have another mystery thriller. This one is, there's so many that are just like coming out next month, which is really exciting because for a while, I feel like there weren't many that were sounding that interesting or standing out to me, at least over the past few months. And June, it just seems like a lot are coming out, and I'm not complaining. I really like that. So this one is The Monsters We Make by Callie White. This one is described as an atmospheric family drama. It's set in the 1980s, and it's following the disappearances of 2 paper boys from a small Midwestern town. What made this one specifically stand out to me is that it's told through interwoven perspectives based on the real-life Des Moines Register paperboy kidnappings that happened in the early 1980s. Next, we have The Secret Women by Sheila Williams. This one is described as a novel that explores the complex relationships between mothers and daughters. So we're following 3 women. They end up meeting through this yoga class. They come to find out that all of them have recently lost their mothers, so they kind of form like their own kind of grief friendship support group, but they end up finding out that each of their mothers, I believe, had like secrets or something that they're finding out about them after they passed away. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like it's very like small secrets, like they're life-changing secrets that will transform their lives. So I'm really interested to see what that is, obviously, for all of them. And I just love the cover, I have to say, on this one too. I think it's really pretty. And then we have This Is All Your Fault by Amina May Safi. This one is a young adult book. It's set over the course of one day, which those books, if they're done really well, can be really well done, but if they're not, then they're not. But I'm really interested to try this one. It's a YA novel, follows 3 young women, and they're determined to save their indie bookstore, and that's all I need to know. Just from that right there, that just sounds like a super cute and interesting premise, and I definitely want to give this one a try. Then we have Block 17 by Kamiko Guthrie. We're following Akiko Jane Thompson. She's half Japanese, half Caucasian. She's in her mid-30s, and she's trying to have just like a quiet, happy life living in the Bay Area with her fiance, but then there's this bizarre car accident, and everything just kind of starts unraveling after that. Like an intruder comes into their apartment but doesn't take anything. Her fiance, I mean, is obsessed with government surveillance, and he risks their security in a plot to expose the misdeeds of his employer, which is the TSA. And then her mother mysteriously disappears. So like all these like very weird things just keep happening. And not to mention the cover on this one as well is really pretty, but I think that this sounds really interesting. I don't want to read too much more of the synopsis just because I feel like it's giving away maybe a little bit too much. I think I might have mentioned this next book already before, but just in case I haven't, it's called Twisted: The Tangled History of Black Hair Culture by Emma Dabiri. This one is a nonfiction book, and we're following the author. She's a BBC race correspondent, and this is her essay collection exploring the ways that black hair has been appropriated and stigmatized throughout history. And it looks also as well as her own journey to coming to love her own hair. Next we have Blue Ticket by Sophie McIntosh. This is a science fiction book. Okay, what made me interested in this one is this author, I knew the name sounded familiar. She wrote The Water Cure, which I recently purchased, but I read that book, I think it was like last year, and I really like that one. I was interested to read something else from this author, so she's coming out with a new book. So I don't want to read the whole synopsis on this because with science fiction, kind of part of it is I enjoy is how the world kind of unfolds and getting to figure out things, but I did read the first couple sentences and I already was hooked. So it says, Calla knows how the lottery works. Everyone does. On the day of your first bleed, you report to the station to learn what kind of woman you will be. So that's all I want to know. I don't want to know too much. I don't want to be spoiled for anything that might happen in the book. Next we have another mystery thriller. This one is the one that I'm most excited for the month of June, and that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This will be Riley Sager's fourth book, I believe. I read everything else by Riley Sager, but in this one, we're following a woman and she's returning to the house, which was made famous by her father's best-selling horror memoir. And she's seeing, you know, are the claims her father made in this book really true or not? You know, what is going to happen. So I'm interested in this book. I like how Riley Sager's books, they can seem like they could almost be supernatural, but then they aren't. Like it's always like so far all of them have been grounded in actual stuff. I hope I'm not giving a spoiler for any of the books now that I'm saying that. I apologize, but I like mysteries where it can be grounded in reality, and the description of this book kind of makes it seem like it might not be, so I don't know. I kind of am maybe gonna wait until other people read the book first to let me know before I go into this one. The next one is a mystery thriller too, but this one is for young adults, well, marketed towards young adults. It's called I Killed Zoe Spanos by Kit Frick, and this one is described as for fans of Sadie and Serial. I haven't read Serial, but I have read Sadie, and I thought that one was okay. This one is following two teens and their lives become linked when one confesses to murder and the other one becomes determined to uncover the real truth. As with mystery thrillers, I'm not going to read too much more into it since I already know that that sounded interesting enough for me. Then we're on to the last book of the ones that I'm interested in that are coming out in June, and this one technically is one I've kind of already read, just not in this form. It's The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, but this is the graphic novel adaptation, which I think is super cool. This one is adapted by Aya Morton and Fred Fordham. This is the first ever time that The Great Gatsby is being adapted into a graphic novel, and I will definitely, for sure, maybe not next month, but I will eventually be getting to owning this one. I don't think I really need to go too much into the description of The Great Gatsby. It's a pretty well-known classic. If not, then I would just say read it. You don't really need to know too much before going into it, but it's a classic. I would like to reread the actual novel itself eventually, but I mean, ew, I was about to talk in text shortening. But anyway, I forgot now what I was even saying. But back to The Great Gatsby. Yes, I want to eventually reread that book, but with all the books I have on my shelves right now, I know that's not going to be happening anytime soon. So those are all the books I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the books that are going to be coming out in the month of June. It's really exciting. I love that there's so many mystery thrillers that are going to be coming out this summer, and we don't have to wait until the fall to get a lot of these books. Let me know if there's any books I didn't mention that you're excited for that are coming out next month, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!